Yeah, he's ready.
Oh, okay. Well, we're going. Welcome to One Foot in the Grave podcast. I'm Dan.
Welcome. I am totally Jake. I have a voice changer.
Oh, awesome.
Tell him what's going on.
Uh,
You should tell Uncle Dan about your foot.
oh yeah, I have a giant wart.
Yeah, well, that's just part of your genetics, I suppose.
Yeah.
That's gross, dude. Did your dad burn it off tonight?
No, we didn't burn it off. It just looks it looks like a big pile of white shit.
Ask him about his warts when he was a kid.
Oh, you had a ton of warts, didn't you?
Yeah, I looked like the mangrove swamp man.
Jake, can you hear?
No.
Oh, you can't?
No.
Yeah, I had tubercles all over. Not really, but it was all over my hands and my feet.
Say love you to Uncle Dan.
It was pretty gross. All right, love you, Jackie boy. I mean, Jake. Jake
Oh yeah,
Jr.
yeah. I'm totally Jake, and I'm gonna switch back to my normal voice changer real quick. I'll be back to my voice changer in a few minutes.
Okay, bye.
They love you.
Bye.
Bye.
You don't talk into the headphones. You talk into the microphone. All right, see you, Jacker. Hello.
No, I'm Jake.
Oh, see you, Jake. Yeah.
I'm Jake.
There we go. What did they say? They called me Dan. Dan, pass the butter. And then I didn't know what to say, and you said, I'm Jake.
I got confused.
Is it what? No, you're not.
I'm Jake.
What?
And then I just was like, hmm? And then they called me out on it. Like, parenting skills. Hey, I have a kind of a cool story that I've completely forgotten about.
Oh, what's going on?
Well, no, it's like this. It's like true crimey.
Oh.
Yeah. Do you want to hear about it or?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I got it from my news source, TikTok.
I sent you a video called "There's Nothing Good on TikTok."
But I know all those things that you sent are nothing like I watch. TikTok is the best. You just need to.
I have to agree with the guy. Like, you sent some funny jokes and stuff, but a lot of it is jokes with no punchline. I just hit my little screen while I was trying to remove a hair from my glasses. It's not funny to me. And I agree with the guy in the video. I think his name is Charlie, but his YouTube name is like Penguin Zero or something. But I agree with him that I feel old every time I watch TikTok because I'm like,
yeah.
I don't
well,
get
I mean,
this.
you have to. Well, you probably are looking at Jack's TikTok, and it's all based on this algorithm. So if you are just jumping onto Jack's TikTok every now and again, it's going to be like dance things and kids. But there's like this whole old people TikTok that I'm on, and it's all like jokes that I find funny. like that girl who sings the English words to all of the Bollywood songs, which is, who would have thought that would be hilarious? And
You
it is.
are not the bridegroom.
What's under my blouse? What's under my blouse? My blouse is made of silk. My blouse is expensive.
It was like when we were in French class, you had that song Violetta Bicyclette, and we were like, "Un, deux, trois, quatre, cinq, six, sept, Violetta Bicyclette," and we were like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, Violet bicycle. Violet has a bicycle.
Violette bicyclette.
All of
1, 2,
my
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, Violette, Violette.
I'm trying to think of my, in Spinal Tap, you probably never saw the movie, but the joke, the running joke is that I think it's the drummer's seat is cursed.
Sniff the glove? Sniff the glove?
Smell the glove.
Smell the glove.
the drummer's seat is cursed, and the drummer keeps dying in the band. But the cursed seat in the history of my life has been my French teachers. I don't know if any of them are still alive. All my French teachers have died.
Yeah, well, I don't know if any of my old teachers are still alive.
Now, Madame Deveau, Madame Arsenault.
I didn't have.
I think Monsieur Donovan is still alive because I saw him not long ago. I think maybe Monsieur Stephanie died. I can't remember. Anyway, very sad. They were all.
You went.
Nice people.
Yeah, you went through like French immersion though, didn't you, or a partial?
Extended core, it was called. Yeah, it was good. You know what? It was culturally enriching. I learned. I went to Kedgwick, New Brunswick, on an exchange. So this is actually quite funny. I went with my buddy Mike Bellier.
Yeah,
I'm just using names now. Doesn't matter. Mike won't care. He likes the story too. Anyway, so we all went, the whole class, but Mike and I were roommates. We were all. It was like an exchange, and you had to stay with a guy from Kedgwick. So Kedgwick is a French town in northern New Brunswick, by the way. Anyway, all they do in Kedgwick is make maple syrup, and there's like a music festival in the summer for a week, and I don't think there's much else going on. It's a pretty small town. And so we went up, and the kids, I mean, we were in grade 7, I think, grade 7 or 8. But the kids there, because they didn't have basketball, they didn't have anything to do. I think most of them, just from my experience, just were into like pure hanging out in the house masturbating. And so Mike and
I thought you were going to go with that.
Mike and I were staying with this big chubby guy. And honestly, he didn't even care that we could hear, like he was sleeping in the same, we were all in the same room, and we could hear this guy going 24/7. We're like, oh, Jean-Luc, it's, that's enough, man. We gotta
get going.
And we would say like, is there anything else to do around here? No, we just, bop the baloney.
No.
Oh, he didn't say it. He didn't say it, but it was pretty blatant. Like it was right.
Oh, golly.
Yeah, it was right out in the open. Anyway, so we talked to a couple other people afterwards. We were like joking about it like 5 years later, and they all said the same thing. They were like, yeah, my guy did that too.
Oh my gosh. That would be a nightmare for me.
It was a nightmare. It was a nightmare.
I'm socially awkward at the best of times, and I don't know how to sort of carry on conversations with regular non-family members.
You weren't allowed to speak English. That was one of the rules.
Mon Dieu.
So you had to speak French, and they told us to scare us that if we spoke English, the family would report us and we would be sent home. And I was like, I'd love to go home, but I don't want to go home in shame. So you were afraid of being shamed, so you just like got through it, however you had to do it. But it was. They interviewed me on the radio and asked me how it was. And I didn't talk about the masturbation issue that was happening, but I did.
That'd be really funny. They masturbate a lot in Kedgwick.
They really crank it a lot.
The main.
Thank you for asking, Tom. It was a culturally enriching experience. I listened to people masturbate in French for an entire week.
Turns out moaning in French and English, bilingual.
No, it doesn't sound the same.
No.
Yeah. You take that, you dirty girl. Sorry to all our Francophone listeners, but that is what you sound like to us.
Oh my goodness.
It was funny, and the girls had, I don't know. It's just that time of your life where you're kind of coming of age, no pun intended. And but the girls in Kedgwick were like, I felt like the girls in our class were pretty much elementary school kids, and the girls in Kedgwick were like smoking cigarettes, wearing jean jackets, going to the mall without their parents. They were doing their own bangs.
Oh wow!
It was
that's crazy.
Now it feels really gross as an adult talking about this, but I was also a child. I was also 12 years old at the time. Anyway, it just seemed like they had come of age a lot faster because I think they had nothing else to do.
Well, I mean, all of that testosterone from the jerking off has to go somewhere.
Well,
my theory,
my theory was that it had something to do with the maple syrup. Because it was like, they're eating so much of it. They had maple butter on everything. They ate fucking maple syrup on every meal.
Do you think that
Breakfast,
was
lunch,
their
supper,
true
everything had
culture,
maple
or
syrup.
do you think it's like, oh, the people
They were putting it on?
Saint John are coming. We better put on. I don't know how they speak.
It's been my experience that
the
the francophones of the province do not put on a show for the anglophones. They have the Fêton in every summer. There's the Acadie Festival. But, and I look, I like that culture. I think it's a lot of fun. I'm glad that both cultures are in the province.
I like the music, especially.
I don't mind it. It's like French country music. It's okay.
Yeah, it's cool.
They play a little bit of bluegrass stuff, and
it's like sea shanty from my memory.
And frankly, it's kind of like our culture too. Now we've lived here our whole lives. It's always been part of the background of our lives too.
Yeah, we know about poutine.
We know about the poutine. Actually, I'd never had poutine until I was in grade 7 and I went to Kedgwick. That was the first time I ever had it.
Probably not me. That was the height of my poutine eating time.
I'll tell you one thing. Speaking of these exchange trips, so we did Kedgwick. I did Circle Square Ranch, and
I remember Circle Square Ranch. That they had those ads on television all the time.
Yes, you weren't allowed. Well, they had a TV show on.
That's right.
On basic cable. You weren't allowed to speak English at Circle Square Ranch when I went. It was Le Cirque a what's square? What's square in French? Carré? I don't know. Anyway, but we had to parler français the whole time. And, I came out of it. I could speak pretty fluent French when I finished high school.
Yeah, well.
And I had to do my bilingualism.
Carré.
Well, it is what I...
Carré.
Is that
Carré.
Square? Carré?
Yeah, square. Cercle carré.
Cirque Carré. Camp.
Cirque du Soleil.
It was... what I was saying, I came out of it and I could... Yeah, Nescafe. I could speak pretty fluent French, I thought, until you and I went on a trip to Europe and I got lost in Paris and had to find my way back. And I was like...
hopeless. I don't know how...
Le Hotel Ibis. IBIS. And they would be like... really fast, and I go, the fuck?
Merci.
Okay, do you speak
Merci,
any
au
English?
revoir.
Parlez anglais? Anyway,
Comment écouter le bonbon?
I got so fucking lost. I got so turned around in France, in Paris, in the middle of the night, and I was being directed by like Somalian drug dealers to go to a different part of like a whole different part of the city. I walked probably 10 miles.
You never
France.
once did you think, I don't remember walking this far.
No, I knew I had. I was hoping I was going in a circle back to the hotel. It was really stupid.
What was really funny, I don't know how old I was. 12 maybe?
I was 17, so you were 14.
Okay, so I was 14. Mom and Dad asked us to go get pizza and bring it back to the hotel. And we got to the pizza place. And you were like, it's this way. And I was like, no, it's this way. We came down a hill.
Yeah, you were 100%. It was the stupidest thing I've ever done.
It's not like we're going to continue down a hill to get to the hotel. And you were like, no, it's this way. And I was like, fine, you go that way. I'm going to go this way. I took the pizza back with me. And I got there. And they're like, where's Jade? Wouldn't believe me that it was this was
fucking stupidest thing I've ever done in my life. Our parents were sure I was dead. Here's the second stupidest thing I did. I showed up at the other Ibis Hotel on the opposite side of the city after walking literally 10 miles, like through the Arc de Triomphe. I was like, I didn't see this. Past the Louvre, through the whatever. I was like, fuck, I'm seeing all these landmarks. I saw the Eiffel Tower. I was like, geez, I think we're staying by the airport.
Yeah, thanks to Kenneth, our tour guide, it was like miles and miles away from anything of
of any cultural
any
value.
benefit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I went through all of Paris and then ended up at the other Ibis hotel. And I talked to the girl at the desk, and I used my French a little bit, and we figured out, because she didn't speak English, we figured out that Mom and Dad had called the police and that they were looking for me. And here's the most fucked up thing of all of this. I didn't ask them to get a cab for me. I said, how do I get to the other Ibis hotel? And she gave me walking directions, and I walked the whole way back. So I was gone, I would say 5.5, 6 hours.
Yeah, it was dark. Like we left during the day, and then it was nighttime when we found you.
Well, it was like 3 a.m. when I showed up back at the hotel, and I was like,
I must have been
is there any
already
pizza
asleep.
left? And they said, no, Dan ate it all 5 hours ago.
Yeah, get fucked, idiot.
Go to bed. Dad was so mad.
The story that I found on TikTok, it's not like it's a huge story, but I will just give you the Reader's Digest version of it. This guy was accused of murdering a 16-year-old girl, and it was weeks in the past. They arrested him at his work, and they were like, "We're arresting you for the murder of this girl," and he was like, "I didn't do that," but he didn't remember the absolute date that.
It sounds like is the first season of Serial.
That it all happened, but he eventually remembered that on the date there was a Dodgers game and that he had taken his daughter to it. And they were like, okay, well, we'll check the CCTV, and they couldn't find anything on there. And then they said, does anything stand out about this Dodgers game that you were at? And he was like, well, the only thing that was different was that maybe they were filming something. And it turns out that they were filming that Larry David show. What's that? Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Oh, Curb Your Enthusiasm. Yeah.
At the same time that he was at the Dodgers game. So they didn't believe he was in jail. They were like, you don't have an alibi. We think that it's you. And he was in jail, and his lawyer went to the studio and asked if he could review the tapes to see if there was any chance that they could see this guy on the show.
All the old footage. Yeah.
Yeah. And the studio was like, no, we can't release that footage until it airs. And he told them the whole story, and he was like, look, this guy is in prison. This potentially could vindicate him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they said, oh, fine. Okay. And they sat him down with one of these, like a producer, and Larry David was in the room too. And they went through all the films, and they were only 8 minutes per tape, and they only had 25 tapes or something like that. And they were getting down to the last tapes and of the outtakes, and him and his daughter walk past the camera and take their seats. And it just happened by chance that because the security guard keeping them from doing that just was like, oh, fine, you go. I don't know how long this is going to take. And it was just this by chance thing that he walked by the camera and he was able to be recognized on there. And it exonerated him, and he was able to go free. Wow. I don't know who the actual killer of the child was, which I guess is a bit frustrating. But I thought
it's not a super happy ending, but it's it's good that the innocent guy got away.
Yeah, exactly. But that makes me think, like, those people who are in prison saying, I didn't do this, it just isn't the way it is. Like, a lot of them are probably full of shit, because that's exactly what you would expect someone to say that was going to spend the rest of their life behind bars. But the people who are telling the truth, potentially the cops fully set this guy up. They planted evidence. They did all sorts of really dodgy stuff. One of the cops is still a police officer. Like, he didn't even get fired, and
it's okay if they don't plant evidence, if they just come up with evidence that points to somebody and they arrest them.
Yeah, no, it was all totally dodgy. So, and they admitted it as well. Like, the cops were like, yeah, you got us. We just wanted to close the case. I don't know if cops get paid per case that they close. And
no, but they have pressure, like their promotion pressure is based on your solve rate. So
Well, there's got to be a better system because that is just going to lead to corruption if they can't solve a case, right?
Yeah. Well, the Innocence Project is all about finding those rare innocent people. Now, 97% of the time when somebody actually gets to court, they're probably guilty. Like because frankly, you need a burden of evidence even just to get them through a grand jury before you take them to court for a murder. But it's still 3% of the time that they're not. And I don't remember what the statistics are for actual trials, but I think 90-something% end in a guilty verdict.
Well, and I mean, as long as the evidence is real, that's fine. But I just was like, that's pretty eye-opening that these people are just accused, maybe because of some...
They found some circumstantial link, and then they built a case.
It could just be like the guy looked similar to someone who someone saw on the street that day or something,
Yeah.
Like, it's pretty unlucky.
But
that's it from my that's my contribution.
That's cool.
To the podcast.
There's shit. I forget what I was about to tell you about. Anyway, it doesn't fascinating listening for the audience.
Classic.
You've read The Outsider now by Stephen King, I assume.
Oh yeah, that was good. And did you know that it's like a sequel to Mr. Mercedes series?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's another one after that that's also a sequel.
I didn't like it. I sent it back because it wasn't as good.
The new one, the short stories or whatever? Or four novellas in one book?
Yeah, I didn't like it.
You know what I've been listening to lately that's really good are the Sherlock Holmes audiobooks.
Oh yeah.
They're narrated so well. And so
by Stephen Fry, isn't it?
Oh, he might have. These ones are old. You can hear the paper turning when the guy's reading. That's how old they are. They're from England. But, I mean, the guy's voice is wonderful. It's, Holmes sat on the...
Yeah. He said, Watson, what is this nonsense? Hey, there's the one that I've got is the entire...
His pipe in a lamp. It's charred on the side.
The one that I'm listening to is the complete collection of Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, that's it. That's the same one.
It's all the books, so you just pay one.
No, there are three. There are three of those complete collections of Sherlock Holmes 1, 2, and 3.
I've got the whole, like, all of his books.
Oh, you got it on audiobooks or on Audible. I got it on the Apple Audiobooks. I think they were only $2.99 each, though. They aren't because they're 100 years old.
Yeah,
they're 120 years old. But those books are so good. So I got a. I'm sorry if you can hear my family in the background. That's part and parcel of this high quality podcast.
Yeah.
But so I was approached by Hemmings House, and they said, "Look, we're getting a partnership with this British company to make fictional television." Which they've never done. They've always just done documentaries. I find documentaries, I'm so fucking bored of them. So I'd been kind of pushing.
It depends on the documentary.
And you've met everybody I know from there, but Steve Foster is super super creative, interesting guy. So so I think he's kind of into this idea of doing some fictional stuff, and so I'd kind of pushed in this direction, and they got. They're working with this British company now, and they said what's really big right now is true crime, obviously. And I said, well, yeah, it's been big forever, like for 10 years now. But they wanted to do a fictional series based on true crime cases, and I said, what would be really cool is if we did a fictional series, but did like a kind of a Watson and Sherlock, what's it called, dynamic. With two characters based in St. John because they want to do it about the Maritimes, and do these like Sherlock Holmes type of stories about unsolved cases from New Brunswick, and just make it up. It's just fiction, right? But you use the basis, the case as the basis of the story.
Well, I mean, for what St. John lacks in vibrancy and, open shops, it is a great place to film that type of thing because everything's shut and derelict. So there'd be plenty of back alleys that, are legitimately frightening.
You can actually find people getting blowjobs in the back alleys for crack. You don't even need to pay actors.
I mean, the story writes itself.
It's all part of the background. St. John has the second highest drug addiction problem in all of Canada.
Well, I mean, but can you really class antidepressants as an addiction?
No, it's, I was saying we have an endocarditis patient at least once a day in a city of 125,000 people. Yeah.
Fucked up drugs like their own spit.
Yeah. At least once a day.
I wish
you could break down that wall of like privacy and show people pictures of how fucked up you're going to look when you get endocarditis and your legs are rotting off and your face is rotting off.
Well, I don't think by the time they're at that stage though, where they, have the potential of going down that route, that it's unlikely that they're going to care. They just want their next hit.
That may
but
be true.
My question is, why do it in the first place? And probably it's like fucking pimps or like abusive people who are like, just try this,
Probably a little bit of it is doctors' faults. So we got some freewheeling prescribers out there, like sending out narcotics, maybe. Getting people addicted.
Fuck, though, I was on narcotics after my back surgery. I was on it for months.
Yeah. Would you have given a hand job for crack?
No. No.
That's the second part of it. People need to take responsibility for themselves. There's a big movement in Canada now because Justin Trudeau needs to get reelected. He's putting forward a universal basic income. So everybody's taxes who work are going to go way up because now you need to pay everybody in the country who doesn't want to work $2,000 a month not to work. Which, when I was working as a resident, that's more than I made as a first year resident working 80 hours a week.
Yeah, but doesn't he see that people who are currently working would just be like, well, fuck it, I'm not going to work then?
Well, of course they're going to do that, but they'll vote for him because they're like, fuck, I can stop working. This is great.
I know, but surely the majority of people in Canada have jobs.
Canada is lost. People are so entitled, man. They're so happy to take free money. They think it's the best thing in the world. They don't care where it comes from. They don't care what it means.
Well, I wouldn't say no to free money, but
if everybody was getting free money, but you knew that the economy was going to crash in 2 years, and that the price of everything was going to go up by 1,000%.
Well, yeah.
You would know it's not. There's no such thing as free money. We have welfare. Nobody's starving to death. If you want shelter, you can get shelter. Well, who's starving to death? The natives on reserves. They're not starving, but they have dirty water, and he still hasn't fixed that. He doesn't give a fuck.
Well, he's a prick. Yeah,
he pretends to care about shit. That's his whole thing. He didn't vote on the genocide vote. They did. They made fun of him on Australian TV. I don't know if you saw it. It was really funny. So, the Uyghur Muslims in China are being rounded up and forced sterilization and abortion and
like currently or
back
in
right
the day?
Now. No, right now that's happening. Well, and there was a big investigative journalism thing about it. But of course, Trudeau loves China because they're probably fucking socking money into some offshore account of his. So they had a vote that Canada was going to recognize the Uyghur genocide in China and recommend against, sanctions against the Chinese government through the UN, whatever.
Yeah.
And everybody voted for it except Trudeau and his cabinet. They all abstained. They wouldn't vote. Fucking pussy. And the Australians were so funny. They were like, the world's wokest prime minister, Justin Trudeau, refused to vote to recognize the Uyghur genocide in China. Anyway, that was pretty good.
That is terrible.
The genocide's not good.
Well, hopefully they'll find an opponent that will actually win against him rather than fucking mumbles and.
Yeah, you know what? There's that's the problem. So The NDP guy said, I won't work with any conservatives. I'm not working with them. He thinks we're the enemy, not the fucking Chinese committing genocide. No, it's the conservatives who are the enemy. Fucking idiot. You have like a minuscule ideological difference, but he's a fucking asshole, so what can you do? And
Plenty of them.
And then the guy running for the conservatives is, I don't know if he's a dumbass or what he's doing, but he's not scoring any points. He looks like a complete fucking asshole. And you know what? He was a nice guy. He wrote me an email about Dad when Dad died. He's obviously a nice enough, smart enough guy, but man, his PR is a fucking nightmare. It's terrible. Yeah. It's like they said, we're not going to spend any money on this. We'll wait till the election. Well, now everyone hates you. So you're going into the election and they're going to vote for this fucking idiot again. We're 4 more fucking years of this idiot. I can't believe it. The country's so
as long as they keep pot legal, I'll vote for anyone.
Well,
else.
Nobody's going to make it illegal. But the conservative guy, he's pro-gay marriage. He's pro-immigration. He's like, there's nothing offensive about him. He's just a fucking idiot. We don't have any vaccines. You should be in the newspaper every day saying, yeah, so we have vaccinated 1% of the population. We're on track to get there in like 2043. You pointed out.
You know what? I was bragging before that Australia is going to be all over this vaccine shit, and fuck, I don't think like they're rolling out the Pfizer vaccine, but they only have, I think, a total of 50,000 people. You know what gives me the shits is that they're vaccinating all these people with the Pfizer vaccine in nursing homes first, and then they're going to roll out the AstraZeneca vaccine to us, which is less effective.
Yeah, it's only 62%.
Couldn't you just limit the people going in, like vaccinate the workers? The people in the nursing homes living there, they're not going anywhere.
Well, I don't know. I don't know the answer because when it gets in the nursing homes, they all die. Like we had in St. John, how many deaths? We had like 20.
But how many?
Deaths
how is it getting into the nursing homes?
It's because the nurses work in the nursing homes and the Emerge and it's not their fault. It's just the way it is.
If we vaccinated the people who were going into nursing homes, then we would be protecting those people.
Yeah, but they're doing that too, I think. They're just not, they need to, they need to vaccinate everybody. They really need to. Look at Israel. They're done. There's no pandemic. It's done. Yeah, it's the only people getting sick are the people who refuse the vaccine. So I don't know. Oh. I don't know. It's I don't know.
I think we just need something.
I'm not a public health expert, but I do feel like there have been a lot of missteps in Canada. I'm still mad. You remember like a year ago? It was a year ago that this started, and we did the podcast where I was like, I'm so fucking mad.
Well, what gives me the shits about Canada is that they're allowing Pfizer to sell them 5 vaccines where it really should be 4 vaccines per vial.
6 instead of 5.
6.
They're paying for 6 for the same amount of vaccine.
Dumb.
They're idiots. But this is, it's Trudeau. You know what's happening? Somebody gave him an envelope full of money or put it in his offshore account. And he just says, yeah, you can have all the taxpayers' money. Doesn't matter. Just pay me. That fucking corrupt little cocksucker. Anyway.
Allegedly.
I'm still mad that he allegedly. But look, why did they let it in the first place? We knew it was coming. I was in Florida at the time. And I said, he's not going to make people quarantine coming from China. And sure enough, he had Chinese lobbyists who told him you have to tell people it's racist to quarantine passengers from China. They wanted it to spread all over America and Canada so that China wouldn't be at a disadvantage. Of course they wanted it to spread here. And that little son of a bitch did it. I'm still mad at him. I don't
think anyone would accuse him of being really bright.
No, he's not bright. But I don't know if he's as stupid as I think he is or if he's just corrupt.
Well, maybe. I think there's probably a bit of both. Like, I think all politicians probably are especially high-ranking politicians would be very tempted with what they are offered.
Well, look, and it's true. And the people I know in politics are universally rich, and they're I'm just saying I don't want to say anything specific, But how the fuck do you get rich as a politician? Your salary is like the same as a nurse. How did the Trudeau family have $45 million? His dad was a politician. He's a politician. It's because it's corrupt. It's corrupt.
Yeah, it's bizarre. I mean, maybe he makes a lot of paid public appearances.
Yeah, by the We Charity. Oh man, did you hear what they're doing? You know the We Charity, like those two brothers who run the thing, and they start schools in Africa, and they name them after.
Oh yeah.
So
whoever.
Yeah.
Built it, yeah.
Now I feel so fucking bad for this guy. So this guy's kid, the guy's in California. His kid died in a playground accident. He was a little sweet little boy, 4 years old, and they wanted to, turn his memory into something positive, and so they used his death to raise a shitload of money for We Charity, to name a school, like to build a school in Kenya and name it after their son. And so, I mean, millions of dollars, right? And they did it. They built multiple schools, they thought, and named them after their son. And had, they went over for the grand opening of the school, and everyone cheered and felt good about themselves. And then they got home. This is the charity that Justin Trudeau gave $1 billion to run our student summer jobs program, and never got it back, by the way. And so he did this, and then he heard that another family had done the same thing, and he found out that they did this opening ceremony at the same fucking schools that he had built. He thought he'd built for his kid. And they just changed the plaque on the school, named it a different, like the school was named after his son. Now it's named after this other kid. And then they did it again with the same buildings. They never put the money into building schools. They just put different names on them, had this opening ceremony, and pocketed the money.
That's fucked.
It's totally fucked. These guys are so corrupt. It's
a brilliant scheme. Like,
it's horrendous, but it's it's clever because they know you're not going to go back to Kenya.
Like, a lot of them probably fucking do that,
It's turned me so off charity that the only ones I give to are the River Cross Church and the hospital foundations.
Well, yeah.
I'm like, I'm never given I still have this Africa, I think it's called Children Believe charity once a month, but it's $15 and I'm like, it's not a huge donation. But but these other ones, like I would never give to one of these charities because they seem like such a ripoff.
Well, I saw something, and again, it's just from TikTok, so who knows how true it is, but they were like, only about 1% of your donations actually make it to the cause, especially for these nonprofit organizations and stuff like that, because people get paid, people are in charge, they travel, all these expenses.
We had to publish it when I worked at the hospital foundation. We had to publish it. I think it was 70%. 30% went back into the administration.
Yeah, no, but I mean, I'm talking about the big
charity. Yeah.
Well, big charities.
Like you think you're giving, you give $10,000 to We Charity. How pissed off would you be when you found out they paid $750,000 to Margaret Trudeau for speaking fees?
Yeah.
I mean, I remember the time when rich people gave money to charities, not charities gave money to rich people.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fucked. It's stupid.
It's crazy. I was gonna,
and if the wife of the prime minister needs to talk, that's an unpaid gig in my view.
Absolutely. If somebody asked me, I'll give you an example. Peter Oxley is a friend of mine, and he's running this device company. And they need research done for measuring nasal passages for this nasal device. And I said, Peter, we're friends. I'm more than happy to do it. But I want to help you out. That's and they're insisting that I get paid. I'm not going to charge them what I charge to do my daily work. We're friends. You're doing kind of a research gig. You wouldn't expect Margaret Trudeau to charge $750,000 to a children's charity in Kenya to go talk
Yeah.
about her mental health struggles for 5 minutes. I mean, it's a way of giving money to Trudeau's family so that he gives you contracts. That's all it is. Jeez,
Oh,
my house
hey,
is
Stella.
loud today. Hey, Stella.
Stella.
The snowplow went by. We got a lot of snow this year. It's been
It's
Hey,
hot
it's March.
as fuck here.
it's March break here.
Oh, are you going to go to Crab Mountain? Can you go skiing?
No, you have to book, right? Because of social distancing, you have to book your ski tickets. I didn't know that, so we missed out on skiing. But that's okay because
bummer.
I don't fit in any of my clothes. I'm so fat.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
I can't get my ski clothes on.
It'd be a tragedy.
Hi, Stella. You don't have to bark in here, dear.
So you know how I told you I was moving some wood? I'm redoing that retaining wall.
Oh no!
I'm still at the same place as I was the last time I spoke to you. But I've got piles of old timber on the side of my driveway, and I was like, oh, I got to get rid of this. So I was like, how am I going to do it? Because my little tractor thing is dead, like it's broken. So I was like, oh, you know what? I'll just drag the fucking thing down with my dirt bike.
Oh no, that's a terrible idea.
Well, no, I think it would have worked had I had a higher gauge rope, but I had paracord, and that's all I had
for rail ties.
for rail ties. And I was like, well, it holds up a human. If you're on a parachute, that should be more than adequate. It was not. So
Yeah, you use a lot of it to hold a human on a parachute.
I just zoomed around the backyard for a bit, and then I was like, oh, okay, I guess I'll go in. But it was so hot out. So now I'll make Aaron do it.
You can, if you use a wheelbarrow, that's what I use to wheel shit around. And I've got a little dolly too that I sometimes use.
Well, yeah, but these are like the size of a car.
Yeah, I know they're heavy, but you can kind of get the edge of the dolly under it and then just angle it up and push. It's pretty good.
Oh, I suppose maybe I could sit them sideways on the. This is riveting talk.
I was going to tell you about the Castle Bravo bomb. I don't know if you remember. We talked about it a little while ago. It was. Do you remember? Well, we don't remember because we weren't alive. But in the post-war era, America did a lot of nuclear testing. I think they tested over 1,000 nuclear bombs. And the first thermonuclear bomb they tested was in 1954. It was this Castle Bravo bomb, and it was down in the Marshall Islands. They're kind of you're not that far from the Marshall Islands, actually. It's kind of between Japan and Australia, I think. South Pacific, anyway. And the test was scheduled for March 1st, 1954. I'm just going to get into it. And it was supposed to be a 6 megaton bomb. So to put that in perspective, Hiroshima was 30 kilotons. So it's like tons of TNT. So 6 million tons of TNT. And they came up with this idea that instead of just using nuclear fission, like when a nuclear bomb goes off and the uranium splits and you split the atom and it causes this chain reaction that explodes, they could use that to trigger a fusion reaction and basically build something that's like the inside of the sun. So you're fusing helium or hydrogen into helium, and it releases this enormous amount of energy. So what they do, they have a primary stage. It's like a conventional explosive, and it's TNT, and it shoves the two halves of the fission bomb, like the normal nuclear bomb, together, made of uranium-235, and then that explodes, and the force and the heat are kind of reflected for this, like, the briefest of seconds, and they have this tertiary stage that's a tank of lithium-6 deuteride, and that fuses, and it makes helium, and then you get this massive thermonuclear explosion.
I thought you couldn't make helium.
Well, excellent point. You can't accept in a thermonuclear bomb.
Oh, okay.
So if you push two hydrogen atoms together hard enough, it'll make helium.
I guess it's not a finite resource then.
It's probably expensive to make it. Anyway, they planned the size of this thing using lithium-6 deuteride, and then they thought, we need some filler in this bomb, so we're going to use lithium-7. Well, lithium-7 deuteride, yeah. But it's basically styrofoam, and and that'll be inert, but it'll keep the thing in check because you have to have a certain amount of distance or whatever they figured to make the chain reaction work. But what they didn't count on was because of the massive amount of heat and energy from the initial nuclear bomb that triggers the second nuclear bomb, the lithium-7 deuteride also exploded. So instead of 6 megatons, it was 15 megatons.
So half of Hiroshima.
No. Hiroshima was 37 kilotons. 34 kilotons. So this is like, well, how many kilos are in a mega? 1,000. So,
I don't know.
You know,
I thought,
you're looking at like 500 Hiroshimas together on these poor little Marshall Islands that are inhabited. I mean, they're inhabited by tribes, right? It's like a primitive culture that lives there. I would imagine. Yeah, well, they moved them off the island for the test, off Bikini. Bikini
how
Atoll.
generous.
But I think there weren't a lot of people living on that island, but they moved them off the adjacent islands just in case, safety margin or whatever. But they built their safety margin assuming they were about to blow up a 6 megaton bomb, and they blew up a 15 megaton bomb. And so because they hadn't really thought it through, it blew up all the sand and coral around Bikini Atoll and turned it into nuclear
Bikini
fallout.
asshole.
Bikini asshole. Exactly. Turned it into nuclear fallout. So this was the largest amount of nuclear fallout of any atomic bomb in history because it picked up so much dirt and stuff. And it started raining down ash hours later. The thing, I mean, the bomb, I don't think I wrote it down, but it was 135,000 feet in the air. So when you think you fly in a jumbo jet going from Australia to Los Angeles at 35,000 feet, this thing was 100,000 feet higher than that. And you could see
space?
It from 4 miles away.
Where's
Space is
space
100 kilometers in the sky.
Oh, in 100 kilometers?
That's arbitrarily where space starts.
That seems like a very long way.
It's pretty far. It's pretty far. So
But that guy went up. No, the guy went up on the balloon, and he jumped
to the edge of space.
Yeah, that couldn't have been 100 kilometers.
Well, they call it the edge of space, but he's probably in the stratosphere. I mean, once you're up a certain height, there's no air, right? So I guess you could call any of it the edge of space.
I don't understand.
They did it to sell Red Bull.
Yeah.
Anyway, so there was some wind.
Of all the things that you've said, that's the one that's really stuck out.
Well, no, we should. I think we should Google it because I don't want to give people false science information, but I'm pretty sure it's 100 kilometers. Where does
hold on.
Space start?
How far? Oh no, I got this. How far away is space?
The Kármán line is 50 miles above Earth. Okay. U.S. military and NASA define space differently. According to them, space starts 12 miles below the Kármán line at 50 miles above Earth's surface.
Yeah, 100 kilometers straight up.
Okay.
I found it first. I said, how far away is space? You have to ask Google the simple questions.
Pertinent questions. Anyway, when they blew up this bomb, there were some wind issues. And they spread this nuclear radioactivity over 100 miles long, where the fallout landed, including all over these inhabited islands in the Marshall Islands. There was a Japanese fishing trawler called the Lucky Dragon 5 that was
not living up to its name.
Well, the dragon part maybe. So these fishermen saw the ash coming down. They had no idea. They thought it was some freak snowstorm, and some of them were like catching the ash on their tongues.
On their tongue?
No. So unfortunately, a lot of them died of radiation poisoning, and there was a lot of political fallout as well from this thing, and it was considered a massive international incident, and it changed the way that they tested for atomic bombs after that.
I hope so.
Well, after that, so that's 15 megatons. They said the people standing like 20 miles away when the bomb went off, they'd hold their hands up in front of their face and they could see all the bones in their hands. Like so much X-ray radiation was coming out. You could it was a live X-ray in real time of your hands.
Jeez.
Not good. But
No,
after they did
sound
that,
like the best.
the Russians, they probably added an extra stage to the bomb. So like whatever a thermonuclear additional bombs in the Arctic Circle. My house. They dropped it in the Arctic Circle, I think, over Siberia. It was called, what did they call it? The mother of all bombs or something. Anyway, it was 50 megatons, 50. It was
Why do people want to do this?
Well, I think at the time it was like saber rattling because there were the two world powers, Russia and America, and they each wanted to show that they could blow the other one up at will. But really, once you get into a nuclear war between two nuclear countries with enough bombs to blow the other one up 20 times versus 15 times, it's a stalemate. It's probably good that there was so much nuclear proliferation because you would end the world.
Yeah, exactly. That would be the end. Like, it would just destroy Earth.
It has probably... Now, I don't know what's going to happen with China. Something's going to happen with China. Joe Biden loves China, so maybe not. But, that unless something happens with China, it seems unlikely that there will be a giant world conflict like there was in World War II, because really you could just end it with nuclear weapons.
Yeah, and I mean, cancel culture is pretty bad.
Yeah.
They drag some motherfuckers across TikTok, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, man.
So,
I've had people try with me, right? Because
well, the keyboard is mightier than the sword.
Yeah, it's very hard to have unpopular opinions right now. It's like there was a Babylon Bee article that was like Christian man surprised that following the teachings of Jesus may have consequences.
Oh.
The whole Bible's about that.
Goodness.
I don't know. It's it's tough to take a moral stand against stuff because the easiest thing to do in the world right now is just to agree with the mob about everything. But
yeah,
those opinions take absolutely no bravery. Like a Hollywood opinion requires no bravery. It's just saying what you know is going to be popular and make you more popular. Like Madonna the other day going on Twitter and saying the patriarchy is keeping its foot on my neck. Well, fuck you. First of all, you've got your own jumbo jet. What did the patriarchy decide? You couldn't have a 16K TV wall in your jumbo jet? Or that we couldn't put in-floor heating in your fucking jumbo jet's bathroom, Madonna? I mean, nobody's got their foot on your neck. We're working like fucking assholes. We're not the patriarchy. But, it's like this person realized that... they have hundreds of millions of dollars and now they want to collect the currency of victimhood. And so they go out and say that, oh, it's so popular, you're a victim. No, fuck. I don't stand for that. I won't stand for it. Being a victim isn't something to be proud of. Getting over your victimhood is something to be proud of. Like rising up and being better and taking on the challenge is something to be proud of. Not like the patriarchy's got their foot on my neck. Fuck you. You're not a victim. You're the richest person, one of the richest person in the world. People.
People, perhaps.
Anyway, I just think the whole thing's fucking idiotic.
Yeah,
Mr. Potato Head isn't Mr. Potato Head anymore. He's just Potato Head. We're having we're assigning a gender neutral gender to a fucking plastic potato.
Potato.
I think the world's stupid. There are still misters. There are still men and women. I don't care if you don't want to be one, but they still exist. You can't say they don't exist. Like, we don't like to use gendered language for our potato head dolls anymore, but we can confirm the one with the mustache has a cock.
It's anatomically correct.
Messaging from Hasbro. Mrs. Potato Head isn't Mrs. either anymore, but she's got a big potato cunt.
This is my one of our members of parliament, Bob Catter, and he he talks about gay marriage, and this is his quote.
People are entitled to their sexual proclivities. I mean, let there be 1,000 blossoms bloom as far as I'm concerned. But I ain't spending any time on it because in the meantime, every 3 months, a person is torn to pieces by a crocodile in North Queensland.
You can decide on gay marriage all you want, but it doesn't solve the crocodile issue.
I love him.
Never pick a fight with somebody who's helpless.
Guy has the capabilities to fuck up your life. Yeah, no, I think that's a good sentiment for people to live by.
Yeah, always fight with the people who can hurt you the most. It's how you grow character.
Yeah. I gotta go. I gotta go tell my wife she's fat.
That should go over well.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you. We'll talk to you the next time.
We're just scattered episode, but yeah, it's good to talk to
you. When you do it as often as we do, sometimes it gets a little frizzled.
It's almost too well practiced.
Yeah, that's right.
Anything.
All right. Well, there we go. Let me just put on the hi-fi music.
From the iPhone speaker to your car stereo.
Bye.
Bye-bye.